Hey everyone, and welcome to this ExegeteThem explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today. We are going to embark on a deep dive investigation into what is, honestly, probably one of the most famous yet profoundly misunderstood verses in the entire Bible, Philippians 4:13. Now, if you've spent any time around the church or sports or even modern corporate culture, you absolutely know this text. But, as we're going to see through the evidence today, the way we usually read this verse, it's basically the exact opposite of what the author originally intended.
Okay, so let's start with an aesthetic we're all pretty familiar with. You see this verse printed in these bold, aggressive fonts on gym posters, right? Or painted on championship jerseys, or maybe used as a motivational hashtag right before a big job interview. It's universally treated as this kind of superhero power-up, a divine blank check for personal achievement. The popular understanding is basically, hey, God's going to help me achieve absolutely anything I set my mind to, because Philippians 4:13 says so. But is that actually true? Let's turn the page and look at the real historical reality here.
We literally have to violently snap out of that modern triumphalist mindset and step into the gritty, harsh reality of a first-century Roman prison. The Apostle Paul wrote these words around AD 61 or 62. He was not standing in an end zone, celebrating a touchdown. He was under house arrest. He was chained to a Roman soldier 24 hours a day, completely unable to work, financially dependent on others, and facing the very real possibility of execution. So you have to ask yourself, how could a man in chains, totally stripped of all his autonomy, write a verse that we use today to conquer our personal ambitions? Section 1. The missing context. The verses everyone skips.
Okay, let's dive into this. To answer how a chained man could write those words, we have to look at the literary context. It completely changes the meaning of verse 13. Exegesis, which is the practice of drawing meaning out of a text, rather than reading our own desires into it, it demands that we read the surrounding sentences. We absolutely cannot skip verses 11 and 12. Paul introduces his financial situation and immediately clarifies in verse 11 that he has learned contentment in whatever situation he's in. Then, in verse 12, he lists exactly what those situations are: being brought low, abounding, facing plenty, and facing severe hunger. So, verse 13, it's not some standalone magical formula. It's actually the climax and the logical summary of enduring those very specific extremes. Let's look a bit closer at the Greek word for contentment used back in verse 11. It's autotarkes. Philippi was a really proud Roman colony, totally obsessed with honor, status, and Stoic philosophy. And the Stoics actually used this exact word, autotarkes, to mean self-sufficiency, this idea that a truly wise man needs absolutely nothing outside of himself. But Paul, he radically subverts this. A chained, dependent prisoner claiming to have contentment, that was a cultural scandal. He takes their prized word for self-sufficiency and completely redefines it as Christ-dependent sufficiency.
Section 2. Decoding the original Greek.
To really, truly grasp this idea of Christ-dependent sufficiency, we need to go straight to the primary evidence. We're going to decode 3 master keys in the original Greek that completely unlock the true meaning of Philippians 4:13. Our first word is panta, which means all things. In Greek discourse, panta is a plural neuter adjective. And here's the crucial part. Its meaning is always constrained by its immediate context. It's not a floating, unlimited, universal claim. When Paul says all things, he's pointing directly back to that catalog of specific lived conditions he just listed in verse 12: hunger, need, and being brought low. It's definitely not an unlimited blank check for athletic achievements or climbing the corporate ladder. The second critical word here is Ισχύω. It translates as I am strong or I have strength. Now, it is absolutely vital to understand that this word does not mean I can accomplish in the sense of conquering new territory or winning a football game. No, it carries the specific meaning of enduring strength. It's the power to bear up under sustained, heavy pressure. Imagine a soldier holding their defensive position under a heavy, unrelenting attack. That is the exact image of Ισχύω. It's not a soldier charging forward to conquer. It's a soldier holding the line.
And that brilliantly illustrates our third word, endunamounti. This translates to the one continuously empowering. What's so critical here is the grammar. It's a present active participle, meaning it's not a single burst of energy or a one-time power-up. A present participle in Koine Greek indicates continuous, uninterrupted action happening right now. Think of it like a flowing, unbroken stream.
It's a continuous IV drip of divine empowerment being infused into Paul, and it literally never stops flowing. Now, what's really fascinating is what happens when we put all those original definitions together. Let's look at the full literal rendering of the verse based on the Greek we just explored. I possess enduring strength within the one who is continuously, right now, infusing his divine power into me. I mean, just look at the stark difference between that and the popular version we talked about at the beginning of this explainer. This is not about achieving literally anything you want. It's about surviving everything life throws at you because you exist within the sphere of Christ's constant flowing power. Just a quick scholarly side note here for the sake of completeness, let's briefly touch on the textual history. The Textus Receptus, which is the basis for the King James Version, explicitly adds the word Christ at the very end of the verse. However, the oldest available Greek manuscripts, which you'll find in the modern critical text, simply say, the one continuously empowering me. Now, don't let this alarm you at all. While the oldest texts don't explicitly write the word Christ in this exact sentence, the surrounding context of the entire letter to the Philippians makes it undeniably 100% clear that Paul is entirely referring to Christ as his continuous source of strength. Section 3. The Exegetical Errors, Academic Refutation. So, understanding the precise Greek text allows us to clearly and objectively see where modern interpretations go wrong. Let's transition into a bit of an academic analysis of how this text is commonly distorted, specifically within prosperity gospel and word of faith movements. They do this through eisegesis, which, remember, is reading your own meaning into a text. We can systematically break down 3 major exegetical errors here. Error number 1 is ignoring the context. Skipping verses 11 and 12 completely divorces the phrase all things from Paul's listed hardships. Error 2 is mistranslating ɩσχύω, basically turning a word about endurance into a word about achievement. And error 3 is completely ignoring the author's circumstances. Paul was literally sitting in chains possible execution. Using his words to guarantee physical health, financial wealth, and material success, it completely ignores the reality of the man holding the pen. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding exactly what this text does not authorize. It does not promise athletic victory. It's about endurance in suffering, not winning a competition. It doesn't promise financial success. Paul was literally writing a thank you note for a financial gift while living in poverty. It's not about feeling our personal ambitions or somehow unlocking unlimited human potential. In fact, actually saying, I can do all things through Christ is a confession of deep, profound human weakness. It is Paul openly admitting he absolutely cannot do it on his own. Section 4. Reclaiming true strength.
Look, stripping away these false interpretations isn't just some dry academic exercise. It's a complete paradigm shift. Once we clear away all that modern triumphalism, we can actually reclaim the profound, emotionally resonant truth of what true strength actually is. The popular misreading, it makes you the hero. In that version, God is reduced to a simple power-up tool that you utilize to achieve your own goals. But the correct exegesis flips the script entirely. Christ is the hero. You are the dependent, weak vessel sustained entirely by his continuous power. One reading uses God as a tool. The true reading allows you to be God's vessel.
And honestly, because of that, the prosperity gospel actually stole this verse from the very people who need it most. When you finally read this verse in its proper context, you realize who it truly belongs to. It speaks directly to the cancer patient enduring yet another round of treatments, not the championship athlete. It belongs to the grieving widow, not the entrepreneur trying to close a massive deal. It belongs to the imprisoned believer and the person who has absolutely nothing to their name. Proper exegesis gives this incredibly powerful promise right back to the suffering. I really want to share this quote from our source material with you because it just beautifully captures the very heart of this passage. It says, "No circumstance is too hard, no trial too severe, no deprivation too extreme, no suffering too prolonged for the believer who relies on Christ's continuously infused strength." That correct interpretation is infinitely more powerful and comforting than the popular misreading could ever hope to be. Well, we've seen the Greek, we've explored the gritty prison context, and we've uncovered that continuous, unbroken stream of Christ's power that Paul was actually talking about all along. So I want to leave you with this lingering thought to reflect on today. Knowing what Philippians 4:13 truly means, will you use God as a tool for your ambitions, or will you allow his continuous strength to sustain you as his vessel in your weakness? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep seeking truth, and I'll see you next time.